Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. U.S. President Donald Trump has fired up a new trade storm, this time targeting Apple's growing shift to India. In a heated clash with CEO Tim Cook, Trump blasted the move, declaring, "MAGA means America, not India." As Apple relocates key iPhone production overseas, political sparks are flying and global boardrooms are on edge. What began as a smart supply chain pivot is now fueling a larger conflict between economic nationalism and corporate globalization. From policy pressure to production strategy, here are the 5 key developments shaking up tech, trade, and the future of global manufacturing. Trump and Tim Cook face off when policy gets personal. The tension hit overdrive when Trump publicly challenged Apple CEO Tim Cook during a high-profile business event in Qatar. With characteristic bluntness, Trump delivered a clear warning. "Tim, we're not interested in you building in India." The remark landed like a grenade in the middle of the global tech industry. While it might seem like bluster, this confrontation is rooted in years of transactional history. Trump once praised Cook's U.S. investments and famously, and hilariously, called him Tim Apple, turning a gaffe into a meme. But make no mistake, behind the scenes, Apple played nice to avoid tariffs, while Trump used the company as proof of his America First mantra. That relationship is now strained to the limit. Apple's plan to manufacture over 25% of its iPhones in India by the next few years has enraged Trump. To him, it's a betrayal of American manufacturing pride, especially coming from a U.S. tech titan. But for Cook, the decision is far from ideological. It's about ensuring Apple's survival in a world where political turbulence and cost structures threaten to derail even the sleekest production lines. This isn't just a personality clash, it's a war of visions. Economic protectionism versus global resilience. And that global resilience? It starts with Apple's next big bet, India. India's rise in Apple's playbook, a calculated rebuild. Apple didn't suddenly fall in love with India. This pivot has been years in the making. Since 2020, the tech giant has been laying groundwork in India, attracted by the trifecta of labor availability, government incentives, and geopolitical necessity. When China, a longtime powerhouse in Apple's assembly line, became politically volatile and increasingly costly, the company had to diversify. India, with its vast labor pool and the Modi government's production-linked incentive, PLI schemes, became an attractive alternative. And it's paid off, at least on paper. By early 2025, India produced nearly 14% of all iPhones globally. That includes high-end Pro models, not just entry-level units. Over 3 million iPhones rolled out of Indian factories and into American pockets just in March. Apple's trusted manufacturing partners, Foxconn, Pegatron, and Tata Electronics, are reaping massive subsidies from India's government. But the road ahead isn't bump-free. India still lacks a mature parts supplier network. And while its labor is abundant, the overall production ecosystem still trails behind China's industrial polish. Still, Apple is betting big. And like a manufacturer testing a new powertrain, they're putting India through its paces in hopes of building a faster, leaner, and more resilient global operation. Before we delve deeper, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us here at Highway Herald, your roadmap to the latest in auto, trade, and manufacturing stories from around the globe. Now let's hit the next gear. What happens if Apple actually brings production back to the US? Made in America? Why that dream hits a hard wall? Trump's pitch to bring Apple's production back home sounds patriotic, red, white, and built in the USA. But here's the cold, hard horsepower math. Building an iPhone entirely in the US would cost over $3,500. That's 3 times the price of your current model. And that price tag isn't just about labor. The US simply doesn't have the manufacturing horsepower or the high-torque infrastructure to mass-produce devices at Apple's scale. The assembly lines, tooling, component logistics, and workforce would need years of tuning and billions in investment to even come close. Plus, many of Apple's crucial parts still come from Asia. Moving production stateside would be like trying to rebuild a transmission with missing gears. It just won't run smoothly. The result? Delays, skyrocketing costs, and fewer choices for consumers. Trump's calls for reshoring manufacturing might sound good in a stump speech, but for companies like Apple, it's a non-starter. Because in this race, the engine isn't nationalism, it's efficiency. So if reshoring hits a wall, Can India truly fill the gap? Let's take a closer look. India's manufacturing leap, promise and pitfalls alike. India is finally shifting into the global manufacturing spotlight. With geopolitical momentum and strong government backing, it's positioned itself as a post-China alternative, and Apple's pivot has become a major endorsement. But while the headlines boast record exports and booming output, the road beneath still has bumps. The Production-Linked Incentive (PLI) scheme has poured billions into subsidies, drawing in major players like Apple and Samsung. Yet much of the work remains low-skill assembly, with limited value creation. India still imports a majority of components, many ironically from China, the dependency it seeks to escape. Infrastructure is another drag. Logistics bottlenecks, land acquisition delays, and inconsistent power supply make scaling up a challenge. Complicated regulations and unpredictable taxes only add to investor hesitation. As Vietnam and Thailand surge ahead in wooing foreign manufacturers, India is still revving its engine. Adding to the risk, Apple now dominates India's electronics export profile. That's great, unless Apple pivots again. To thrive long-term, India must shift from assembler to ecosystem, build local supply chains, invest in workforce development, and create a climate of regulatory stability. But global supply chains don't run on efficiency alone. Politics now plays a critical role too. The tariff crossfire, how Trump's pressure could redraw supply chains. Donald Trump's economic playbook remains unchanged. Use tariffs as leverage to bring jobs home. Now India, once seen as a US ally, is finding itself in Trump's trade war crosshairs. Apple's expansion into India gives Trump a new reason to sound the alarm. He's hinted at slapping new tariffs on Indian-made electronics, hoping it forces Apple to bring operations back to US soil. His advisors are reportedly digging into ways to disrupt Apple's current India strategy. India isn't folding. In fact, it's pursuing a full-blown trade deal with the US to minimize tariff exposure. But Indian officials worry that Trump could turn their country into the next China, a booming partner one day, a trade target the next. For Apple, it's clear the solution is diversification. Tim Cook is already shifting production to Vietnam for other major product lines, hedging bets in case politics flare up again. In today's world, global supply chains are no longer just about efficiency. They're about resilience and surviving political whiplash. Tariffs, tweets, and elections now influence production lines more than engineering diagrams or factory blueprints. That brings us to the big picture. What's the long-term verdict for Apple? Final verdict. Can Apple navigate the political crossroads? Apple's standoff with Trump isn't just headline noise, it's a turning point. The tech giant is caught between the economic logic of globalization and rising political pressure to bring production home. Balancing both has never been more complicated. India, eager for long-term manufacturing clout, must act fast. Fixing infrastructure gaps and reducing import reliance could secure its position as Apple's key partner. But with Vietnam and others accelerating, the window of opportunity is closing. For Apple, neutrality may no longer be an option. Every supply chain move now carries political weight, and the decisions made today could steer the future of global manufacturing itself. Now we'd love to hear from you. Can India overcome its challenges and become a global manufacturing powerhouse? Should Apple bow to political pressure or stick with global efficiency? Where would you build the next Apple plant? US, India, or somewhere else? Drop your thoughts, insights, or hot takes in the comments. We're always reading. And don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald for more updates, insights, and deep dives into the world of vehicles, manufacturing, and global trade. Thank you for watching and riding with us here at Highway Herald. Until next time, stay passionate, stay informed, and keep those engines revving. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.